All right, welcome back. Today we're continuing our review of our latest BCBA practice exam, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our BCBA study materials, please check out behavioranalyststudy.com. We offer 3 practice exams, a task list study guide, and of course, our famous combo pack. We also offer a YouTube membership if you'd like to support us further. Other than that, let's keep working hard, keep studying hard, get to our questions. 31. A steakhouse fires their head chef after numerous complaints about the quality of the food. The new chef they bring in wants to familiarize themselves with the layout of the kitchen and the appliances that are used in the kitchen. The chef should do what? All right. Think about all the different types of assessments we have. All right. We have indirect assessments, we have direct assessments, we have ecological assessments, functional analysis, preference assessment, reinforcer assessments. The list goes on and on. But when you're looking through different assessments and what assessment we need to use, you have to ask yourself, what are we trying to accomplish, right? Because if we just want to obtain stakeholder information, well, we just need an indirect assessment, right? An interview is going to be fine. If we need to look at a behavior of a specific individual, then we need to be more direct about it, right? We need to do some sort of direct assessment that's part of an FBA to determine exactly what behavior we're looking at or what the function is or whatever it might be. In this case, what is the chef trying to accomplish, right? Well, the chef wants to familiarize themselves with the layout of the kitchen and the appliances. So not necessarily the staff, not necessarily the patrons, not necessarily anybody involved, but instead kind of where he's going to be working. In other words, he wants to get familiar with the environment that he's going to be cooking in. Well, as it relates to you as a behavior analyst, whenever you start a brand new case, you need to familiarize yourself with the house. If you're in a school, you need to familiarize yourself with the school. Remember, behavior is our interactions with environments, right? So we need to know the environment in and out. And that's what the chef is trying to accomplish. So in order to do that, what does the chef need to do? A, interview the general manager and the owner. Okay, this is one of those indirect assessments we talked about. I'm sure that could give the chef some good insight on where the appliances are from and their idea of how the kitchen should be run. But what's a better way of actually getting in there and familiarizing himself? Well, he needs to go actually do it, right? See it himself. Remember, we're always trying to directly observe. B, practice the restaurant's menu at home. Practicing it at home is not going to help him with the appliances or the layout of the kitchen at work. C, conduct an ecological assessment of the kitchen. Yes, an ecological assessment, looking at the environment, assessing the environment. That's what the chef needs to do. And then D, have a meeting with the staff they will be working with. He should do that at some point, right? As a supervisor, you need to meet with the staff, set goals, performance monitor, that kind of thing. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is looking at the environment, looking at his kitchen. And in order to do that, the chef should conduct an ecological assessment. You have a report due at work in 1 week. Currently, you're on a vacation, but your boss keeps texting you, reminding you about the report. Finally, you decide to send the first page of the report to your boss, who stops texting you, letting you enjoy your vacation. The boss stopping texting most likely functions as what? All right, what are we looking at here? We're looking at the boss stopping texting, right? And the boss stops texting in response to you sending the first page of the report to your boss. So we're looking at the consequence of the boss stopping texting in relation to the response of you sending the first page. So when we look at whether this is reinforcing or punishing, we need to identify, is this in the future going to increase you sending the report or decrease? Now, obviously, in order to deal with consequences, we need to know, well, how does it affect the future behavior? They don't give us that information. So we need to just draw assumptions here, which we want to avoid doing, except in this case when we have no choice, right? So we're looking at positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. So first, let's look at positive and negative. Remember, positive, we're adding something. Negative, we're escaping or taking something away. By you sending the first page of the report and your boss stopping texting you, have they added something or have they removed it? Have you escaped? Well, you've escaped, right? You've escaped the text. He's no longer sending the text. He's stopping the text. You've escaped his text messages. Okay, so it's going to be negative. Then, in the future, if you need to escape texting, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to send reports, right? You're going to finally complete the report. Therefore, is your behavior being reinforced or is it being punished? Well, your behavior is being reinforced, right? I keep texting you, reminding you about the report. Finally, you send me the report. I've stopped texting you. I've removed the text. You've escaped the text. In the future, you know, if I want to avoid these texts and escape these texts, I need to send the report. So I'm removing it and reinforcing the behavior of sending the report. I am, or the boss is, texting is functioning as negative reinforcement. Make sure you understand that, right? Remember, negative reinforcement is just another way of avoidance or escape, right? We're removing something, eliminating something. In this case, I'm reinforcing, or the boss is reinforcing, sending the report by letting you escape from his insistent text messages. So the boss stopping texting most likely functions as negative reinforcement. 33. Client often screams at the top of their lungs. Function is not obvious at this time. You ask the RBT to take partial interval data on screaming and set the interval at 25 seconds. Client screams right at 24 seconds, 3 intervals in a row. How many responses should the RBT record? All right, what is the question asking? The question is asking about responses and how many the RBT should record. That seems redundant, but you have to first identify what the question is asking, okay? It slows you down. It makes you focus. Remember, we're focusing on the question, not necessarily the answer choices yet. So if we're looking at responses, we're looking at what type of measurement? Discontinuous measurement and a partial interval data collection system. With partial interval data, when does a behavior have to occur to count as a response? Well, at any point in the interval. So we know our interval is at 25 seconds. So at any point in those 25 seconds, if the behavior occurs, we count it as a response because we're using partial interval recording. We know the client screams right at 24 seconds, 3 intervals in a row. So for 3 intervals straight, did the behavior occur? It did. It occurred at 24 seconds, 3 intervals in a row. When it occurred, how long it occurred, isn't relevant for partial interval. The only thing that matters is, did it occur? Did it not? And since the client screamed 3 intervals in a row, it occurred 3 intervals in a row. Partial interval data says we should record how many responses? Well, 3. Make sure you understand discontinuous measurement and measurement. Measurement questions should be easy questions on the exam. Okay, you want to get those correct. Partial interval, whole interval. When do we use them? How do we use them? You have to understand that. 34. Anytime Layla sees something with hair, she says furry. Today, she saw a man with a huge beard and said furry. The beard is part of a what? Right. What is the beard part of? Look at our answer choices, and we have stimulus classes and response classes. Well, let's just go back up and try to analyze this. Okay. We know anytime Layla sees something with hair, she says furry. The beard has hair, leading Layla to say furry. So the beard, stimulus, evoking the response of furry, just like all these other stimuli with hair. So when we have stimuli with similar characteristics evoking the same behavior, what do we call that? A, an arbitrary stimulus class. An arbitrary stimulus class is the opposite, right? It's a bunch of stimuli. They don't really share characteristics. They don't really share form, but they still evoke the same behavior. What about a consequent stimulus class? A consequent stimulus class is like a reinforcer and a punisher. If this is the antecedent, which it is, the beard is the antecedent to saying furry, it can't be a consequent stimulus class. What about a feature stimulus class? Well, we know Layla, when she sees something, in other words, a stimulus with hair, she says furry. Today she saw a huge beard, so hair, said furry. So the beard shares features of the stimulus class, hair, which evokes furry. So the beard is part of a feature stimulus class. Of course, it's not a response class because it's the stimulus, right? Understand the difference between stimulus classes and response classes. We have a video on that. If you don't, make sure you go check out that in our Let's Learn ABA series. In this case, the beard is part of a feature stimulus class because the beard shares the feature hair of all these other stimuli that evoke the same response of furry. 35, a functional behavior assessment determines that a client will most likely engage in escape behaviors when presented with a task demand. What type of chaining might be best to use to teach this client? Okay, easy question, Pretty easy question. But remember, this is our 4th exam. Okay, so we still need some of those basic questions, right? When you get an easy question on the exam, what is our strategy? Strategy is trust our preparation, don't overthink it, answer it, move on. So in this case, we're looking at a type of chaining, okay? Forward, backward, total, behavior chain interruption. And we know the client engages in escape behaviors when presented with a task demand. But what type of chaining uses escape as reinforcement? On forward chaining, we know the client has to engage in or complete the first step before they get reinforcement, right? So if we have a chain of 12 steps, we're using forward chaining. They have to complete step 1 before they get reinforcement, and then step 1 and step 2, and then step 1, 2, and 3. Well, if our client engages in escape when presented with a task demand, we can predict how that might go, right? However, backwards chaining, what are we going to do? With backwards chaining, we have a 12-step chain. We're going to prompt them through, right, and help them 1 through 11, and then let them do 12 and escape. So we're using their behavior to our advantage. And backwards chaining, that escape functions as reinforcement. So if we have a client who engages in escape behaviors, backwards chaining seems like a pretty good choice. Now, do we pick B and move on? Nope. We read all of our answer choices. So, C, total task chaining. Well, total task chaining is probably going to be the worst, considering they need to complete the entire task, and we already know they engage in escape behaviors. And then behavior chain interruption strategy. Well, once we teach the chain, maybe we can start to interrupt and evoke some novel responses. But for now, teaching this chain, and we know they engage in escape, let's use it to our advantage, use a backwards chaining procedure. That way, whenever they complete a step, they're free. 36. 2 boys get into a fight on the playground. One boy punched the other in the nose and broke his glasses. The teacher walks over and asks who started it to 2 other students. One student says the first boy started it, and the other student says the second boy started it. We know for certain this observation lacks what? All right. What does good data contain? Accuracy, reliability, validity, inter-observer agreement. Accuracy says we're measuring the true value. Reliability says we can measure it over and over again. Validity says we're measuring the right thing. And IOA says more than one observer gets the same reporting. In this case, what do we know? Okay. We know one boy punched the other in the nose and broke his glasses. Then one student says the first boy started it. Other student says the second boy started it. The question asks, what do we know for certain? Okay. In this case, do we know the accuracy of their statements? We don't, because we don't actually know who started it, right? Both boys could have started it. Neither could have. We have no idea, right? We don't know the accuracy of the statement. So we don't know for certain it lacks accuracy. What about reliability? Well, if we got these same 2 students to observe the same thing, we don't know if they would reliably report the same information. So again, we can't say for certain it lacks reliability because we don't know. What about validity? Well, it is valid because we do need measurement of who started it, and at least the 2 students are observing what we want them to observe, even though we're not sure whether they're right or wrong. At least it's valid because we were asking them about the boys who got in a fight. They were observing the boys who got in a fight. So their observation is valid. What it definitely lacks, though, is inter-observer agreement. And why is that? Well, because one student measured the first boy starting it. The other student said the second boy started it. There's no IOA there. There's no inter-observer agreement. There is disagreement, right? They don't agree at all. So we know for certain it lacks inter-observer agreement. Again, we're not sure about the accuracy, so we can't say for certain it lacks it. Not sure about the reliability, so we can't say for certain. It is valid. They are measuring what we want them to measure. The only thing we know for certain it lacks is agreement. Okay? These students are not agreeing. There's no inter-observer agreement on who actually started the fight. 37. A team of evaluators are asked to conduct research for the military. The military wants to know all possible scenarios that could occur on the battlefield so that they can prepare their training regimen. The evaluators are doing what? Okay. Tricky question. I think this is a harder question. 7 or 8 on the difficulty scale. what is happening? We're talking about the evaluators, right? And they're asked to conduct research for the military. The military wants to know all possible scenarios that could occur on the battlefield so they can prepare their regiment. So the key here is this idea of knowing all possible scenarios that could occur. Think about generalization strategies. In what generalization strategy are you looking at all possible response variations, all possible stimulus variations in order to prepare yourself to teach for generalization? Are we looking at multiple exemplar training? We'll be very careful. Okay. Multiple exemplar training does involve you teaching multiple response types, multiple stimulus types, but we're not teaching here, right? We're preparing to teach. And so if we're preparing to teach multiple exemplars, we need to first identify them. And we do that how? What about training common stimuli? Again, we're not teaching yet, right? We're preparing the training regiment, but we're not quite teaching. What we are doing is a general case analysis because we're going in, or the evaluators are going in, and they're identifying all possible exemplars, right? This could be a response. This could be a stimulus. This could be a response. This could be a stimulus. And they're giving all this information back to the team who can then design their curriculum. It's the same thing you should do as a BCBA and why knowing the environment's important, right? And knowing your skills is important. If I'm teaching something at the grocery store, well, there are just tons of stimuli that can come into play, many response variations we might have to teach. And when we do that, okay, we're going to be teaching exemplars. But before we do that, we should go out to the grocery store and conduct an analysis, right? A general case analysis of what could go on at that store. And that's exactly what these evaluators are doing here, right? They're doing a general case analysis on the potential responses and stimuli that could occur on the battlefield. So the evaluators are doing a general case analysis. 38. You gave up drinking Fireball shots a year ago. You decided it was time to move on. But over Thanksgiving, you visited your friends back home and ended up taking 10 Fireball shots in one night. Fireball drinking is under what type of control in relation to your friends? All right, pretty easy question. Say a 3 or 4 on the difficulty scale. Let's first identify what we're asking. We're asking about Fireball drinking, and it's under what type of control? Okay, which is kind of a dead giveaway, but let's break it down, right? In relation to your friends, meaning your friends come around, all of a sudden you're drinking Fireball. Before that, you hadn't drank Fireball for a year. So something in your environment changed, your friends, all of a sudden, you're drinking Fireball. So what do we know about a change in the environment that increases frequency of a behavior? What do we call that? What kind of control is that? A, response control. We don't call it response control, right? Because it's not under the control of responses, okay? Your friends are stimuli in the environment, okay? Remember that. Consequence control. It's not under consequence control, okay? There's no contingency here. Again, your friends are antecedent stimuli. You're around your friends. They might say, let's drink Fireball. And then all of a sudden, you're 10 Fireballs in, right? You are under, or your Fireball drinking is under stimulus control, okay? You're suddenly around your friends. Your behavior changes. Your behavior is under stimulus control of your friends. Just like kids might act one way in math because of stimulus control, and then they go to science and they act totally different. Okay? You act one way with your dad, one way with your mom, right? All your behaviors are under stimulus control of different things in the environment. And due to that stimulus control, your behavior is increasing, decreasing, changing constantly. All of a sudden, your friends come around and your behavior changes, right? You're drinking Fireball again. Fireball drinking is under the control of stimulus control. There's no prompts, so it's not under the control of prompts. 39. Lisa hates riding in her car seat. Parents decide they will start giving Lisa praise each time she walks outside without screaming. Then, they praise her whenever she opens the car door without screaming. Afterwards, Lisa receives praise for unbuckling the car seat. Parents are most likely using what? Well, pretty straightforward, right? What are the parents doing? Well, looking at approximations. They want her to ride in the car seat. So step 1, right? Walk outside. Step 2, open car door. Step 3, unbuckle the car seat. And they're not really steps, they're more approximations, right? We're slowly working our way up into that car seat, okay? So the parents are most likely using what? A task analysis. Well, they haven't broken down the car seat into a task analysis. Okay. They're not conducting a task analysis, right? What they're doing is reinforcing approximations of this single response. Okay. If it said her parents or parents looked at riding in a car seat and all the steps it takes to ride in a car seat, that will be a task analysis. It's not what they're doing, though, right? All they're trying to do is reinforce approximations of these behaviors, getting her closer and closer into that car seat. Okay. So what they're actually doing is shaping. They're not using negative reinforcement. They're using positive reinforcement, praise. And they're not using positive punishment. They're not trying to punish Lisa in any way. They're shaping Lisa's behavior until she finally gets into the car seat. So they're shaping these approximations until they reach a terminal behavior. Finally, 40. Which of the following behaviors violates the dead man's test? Got another dead man's test. The dead man's test say we don't focus on any behavior a dead man can do. Sitting still, lying still, not talking, right? These things are what a dead man can do. We're trying to teach things, right? Teach actual behaviors. So, what violates the dead man's test? Well, we're going to look for a behavior that a dead man could do. A, Jimmy takes a snap from a center and throws a touchdown to Greg. Could a dead man take a snap and throw a touchdown? No. B, Blaine lays on the ground on a cool and breezy day. Could a dead man lay on the ground on a cool and breezy day? Absolutely, right? They're not going anywhere, okay? They could easily lay on the ground on a cool and breezy day. C, Georgia sits up as soon as the teacher walks in the room. Can a dead man sit up? No. D, Jane overhears someone gossiping about her. Can a dead man overhear? Right? So, which of the following behaviors violates the dead man's test? Laying on the ground on a cool day. All right. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Like, subscribe, questions, comments, let us know. As always, work hard, study hard. See you soon.